So, if you watched my medium format Rant series, you know that despite all of the great things that Fuji is doing with their GFX system, I still chose the Hasselblad X2D over the GFX system for my personal use. However, as you might have guessed from the intro, I've gotten pulled back into the GFX system. So you might be asking, why or how did I get pulled back into the GFX system? And to be honest, I've been testing it against the Hasselblad again, in part because I got this GFX 100S Mark II, which I actually like better than the GFX 100 Mark II, but for the viewfinder. The viewfinder is better in the other guy, the flagship GFX camera. But otherwise, form factor and size-wise, I do like this one better. But that's not the real reason I'm back on GFX for the moment. The real reason is these guys. Tilt MF'n shift lenses. 30mm f5.6, 110mm f5.6. So basically f4s for full frame, like an 85 and then like a 24mm, I think, on this side. So just gorgeous lenses. Have been wanting to try these out. I have a solution for the X2D also for tilt shift, where you put a speed booster and then the H6D tilt shift adapter thing and then an H series lens on the front. So we'll see, and I kind of want to compare the quality. Quick interruption on the video. After I started making this video, I found a game-changing technique. It's called putting linear profiles on your camera in Lightroom. With this technique, you can make Fuji GFX files look exactly like Hasselblad X2D files. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a tutorial on how you do this in this video, and then like the 10-minute rant that I had done, I'll put at the end of this video as like a little addendum, okay? I'll also put the tutorial separately in a separate video if you just want to watch the tutorial. Okay, so you go to this website by Tony Kuyper Photo. Not sure how to pronounce it, but he's great. It's goodlight.us/linear-profiles.html. And he has this really nice explanation talking about shooting in manual, and that each profile he's made is camera specific. So it will only work for your camera if it's in the repository. You can make your own, but I think Tony has done such a good job, he's basically done it for you. So then you click here to jump to camera-specific linear profile downloads, and it goes to all these different cameras. He's got everything from Canon to DJI to Fuji to some, cell phones to Phase 1, Leaf Aptus. But for me, at least, importantly, Leica, Sony, Hasselblad, Fuji, Canon, the ones that, us photographers use. And he keeps this list very up to date. As you can see here, he's got the X-T50, he's got the X100SII, he's got the 100S Mark II, he's got the GFX 100, 102, just, any new camera you could want. He's got the Leica SL3 on here. He has the IQ 150 here for Phase 1. And then, of course, for Hasselblad, he's got the X2D. And so just to show you here, you click on whatever camera you want, right? And then, so you have to, there's a button you got to click. I agree to the terms. And then, you go to the profile you want. It adds to the cart here. I'm going to add a couple that I don't have. You hit checkout, and then you go through the checkout process. I cut this part out because I'm not giving out my information, but it's free. And then you have these guys on here. So then you go into your email here. I use Gmail, and you can see you can download these profiles. I have them go right to my download folder. and then you get 5 attempts to download it. You hit download, and then you go to Lightroom, Adobe Lightroom. This works in Adobe Classic also, but I'm just going to use it here because this is going to be a little easier to show, but it works the exact same way. So you go up here to File, you go to Import Profiles and Presets, and then boom, there are all your different presets. I already downloaded the GFX S2 and the X2D, so I'm going to just to show you, I'm going to put in the X100SII, the GFX 100 Mark II, and then you hit, so I had this in my downloads folder, but wherever your downloads go, that's where you do, click on them, you hit import. It takes a second, tells you it's done, and that's it, okay? Now, just to show you how this works, I'm going to take 2 files of a beautiful model, put them into Lightroom, add 2 photos. Okay, so if you look at Get Info, you can see this is the GFX 100, and then next to it here is the Hasselblad. If you ask me, the Hasselblad right now looks nicer. The color is a little bit richer, a little more accurate, I would say. You know, I might need to control for exposure a little bit here. The GFX 100 is a little underexposed, but as you can see here, pretty similar settings. 55 millimeter, 1/80th of a second at f2.8, ISO 800, and then here 55 millimeters a second, 1/90th a second, f2.8, ISO 800. Kind of interesting that the Hasselblad seems to have done a better job with the exposure than the Fuji here, and to my eye, you know, the Fuji is like a little too red in here. This blue is a little too dark. And I'll fix the exposure, but I just want to show you the raw without touching anything, okay? So then you go here, you click on these, or you can go into the here, but I think it's easier to do it this way. You click right here where it says Profile, these 4 squares. And now when you scroll down, there's a section and there's the Ted Ford presets. Nice job, Ted. There's something called Profiles, and you'll see there's a linear profile for the Fuji. And immediately you put it on the Fuji and you see that horrible red disappeared, hit the darkness of the color of the shirt has disappeared, and all of a sudden it looks pretty darn accurate, but flat and a little dark, right? And so, you know, here's the Hasselblad without it, and just to compare, there's the GFX with the linear. And then same thing here, I can put the Hasselblad linear profile on there, and you can see the difference here. So I put it on, and now they look awfully similar, don't they? So now I can, you know, fix that exposure a little bit, add a little saturation, you know, maybe cool it off a little bit there. Same thing here. Exposure was good on this one, add a little saturation. And, you know, I think you would be really hard pressed once you finish tweaking these, you know, to tell the difference between the two, honestly. Just, you know, it's pretty amazing. I'll put them side by side here. All of a sudden, the GFX is maybe even looking a little better, so I can see if I can fix this a little bit. So yeah, I mean, these photos are basically identical now, right? I mean, you know, minor things, just pretty incredible here. So I think this is totally a game changer. You know, this makes the GFX so much of a better camera, so much more of a commercially viable tool, and it makes it so that, you know, the playing field is very level between the Hasselblad and the GFX. You know, it means that you can spend $2,000 on a 20-35 rather than $6,000. So, yeah, exciting stuff here, I think. I do still think the Hasselblad lenses render a little bit more nicely, but I don't know if I would say it's 3 times more nicely, you know, especially with what you can do in post here. you know, it's just really pretty dope what you can do. So yeah, another interesting thing I noticed here is that, you know, because Lightroom is putting on distortion correction, you have to turn that off with Fuji. So yes, if you turn off distortion correction with Fuji, you get a much nicer rendering. But, you know, I do still think that the Hasselblad has a slightly nicer lens rendering, but like, is it 3 times nicer? I don't know. You know, they look so similar. Man, you know, it's just, look at this, you know, they're so similar. So yeah, I do think the Hasselblad still has a slightly nicer rendering, but like it is so freaking close that no one would notice. And if you're printing, you wouldn't notice. You know, I just don't know if it's worth the money when you apply these profiles. So I have a few more things to test, including the whole tilt shift deal. But I wanted to share this because I thought this was a pretty exciting find. Big thanks to Tony Kuyper. And now back to the video. So I really have to thank Tony Kuyper. His linear profiles have changed the game for me. I can really focus on which cameras I enjoy the most in terms of user experience and utility, which I think is largely Fujifilm cameras, honestly. You know, basically I could just use the Fuji GFX for almost everything. Maybe have like another little Fuji camera or two here and there. Hang on to like an MLM and monochrome probably. We'll see. Maybe not, because honestly the black and white looks better coming off of the medium format cameras, especially once you apply a linear profile. And then, you know, I have the Pentax 6.7 dose, which that's what I want to shoot most of the time anyway. So I don't know, man. It's a game changer. Pretty interesting stuff. We'll see. I finally found a solution that really levels that playing field. And since all cameras are so good, as I've said in so many of my videos, you know, it really does just come down to that user experience, price point, utility, all that good stuff. So more to come on this, but just wanted to share my findings because I was pretty pumped about it. Have you used linear profiles? Is there anything else I need to know about this? Do you know Tony? I would love to interview him and talk to him. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! I will say that my initial conclusions, based on my previous comparisons of the GFX system to the X system, the X2D system, Hasselblad's image quality, the color science is more pleasing, if not more accurate. So with the Fuji, it's not quite you see what you get. It's like in the ballpark, you see what you might get, you know? And like in doing comparison shots, especially if it didn't involve skin tones, because the X2D smokes the GFX in terms of skin tones. But if it was just like a picture of a car or something like that, an object, sometimes I would go through all the pictures and I would like some of the X2D images just fine to be totally usable. But like my favorite image might actually be a GFX image, but then my least favorite image would also be a GFX image. And I compared this with like Leica cameras, Canon cameras, all this stuff. So just kind of like not as consistent, very fiddly camera, the GFX. A couple more thoughts on the GFX system since I've been testing it out again. One is this lens, the 20-35. Hasselblad just came out with basically the same lens, and it's like $6,000, okay? I think I got this used for like $2,000 or $2,500, so you could almost buy 3 of these for the one Hasselblad lens, you know? And I'm guessing the image quality of the lens itself is probably pretty similar. So, you know, that alone almost pushed me to the GFX. It's just the price of this particular lens. Like, I get that the Hasselblad is a leaf shutter, so they got to put a shutter mechanism in the lens. But still, like 3 times the price? And yeah, the GFX system has way more lenses than the X2D system. Because it has a mechanical shutter, you can adapt all kinds of lenses. Like, I actually think the best everyday carry solution for the GFX is this. You put a Canon EF 40mm what is this? F 2.8 on a Fringer adapter, and you've got a perfect everyday carry combo here. I'll show you. Look at the size of this thing. That's not too bad. I love the grip on this. I actually prefer the grip of this to the X2D. That's pretty nice. I mean, I'll compare it to my Q3 here. You know, it's not that different. This is considerably heavier. You need a bigger strap to really carry this. But like, if you didn't want to have both, you could totally use this as your everyday carry. As long as you're not shooting fast stuff, right? It's still kind of a slow camera. I mean, let's not forget that this lens shot this book, Anouk Krantz's whole American West series, West the American Cowboy. She shot basically the whole thing with a GFX 100 and this lens. So, I mean, it's not bad. I mean, this is pretty nice. But I do wonder, would it have been nicer with the Hasselblad 55mm and X2D? And like, it would have been a lighter combo for her too? I don't know. A lot of this, I'm like, does it even matter? Just look at these pictures. Although the Hasselblad menu system and interface is super simple and super easy to navigate and very nice to use, there's so little customization, it's almost maddening. Like, I haven't found a way to switch what the front and back dial do. So if you wanted shutter speed on the front dial, you're just out of luck with the X2D, you know? On the other hand, the GFX, like, you can basically customize everything, and I love that. I love the Fuji interface in terms of when you're using the camera, but to find the stuff to customize the camera in the mess of a menu that Fuji has is a real challenge. All of that said, I love using Fuji cameras. The interface while you're using the camera is great. It has everything you could need: distance scale, blinkies, you know, grid, all that stuff, all the different kinds of manual focusing options. It's really great. The customization is great. And I feel like the X2D, the Fujifilm cameras have soul. It really is too bad they didn't do a retro design, because like, this is their probably least soulful camera, but there's just still something about the Fuji user experience that's really enjoyable. Even the grip I like better than the X2D, you know. But unfortunately, I don't use these cameras just because they feel good in the hand. That's a huge bonus. And when there's two cameras that, you know, are sort of like equal to me in price and everything else, then I'll go with the one that's more enjoyable to use or feels better in the hand. But, you know, if the image quality is better and the, you know, like the reliability of the image quality is better, then guess what? I will suffer stupid lack of customization and almost as good ergonomics, you know, and a slightly higher price. You know, that's, for me, image quality is kind of the end all be all, especially when we're talking about medium format cameras that are already slow and not ideal to use, you know. I think this is a similar reason that Leica is going to continue to be successful, right? Like, yes, is this like the best lens ever? Yes, it is. Okay, but like, does it really matter on a 43, you know, 35, 50mm and this size camera that you're going to use for kind of a serious everyday carry camera? Not really. So why am I keeping this? It's just really fun to use. It feels good in the hand. It's a good weight in the hand. The pictures are nice. The menu system is great. You know, the EVF is sublime. It's just a really good, pleasant, lovely experience. Like, could you get something similar with a Sony body? Yeah, but it just wouldn't be as much fun to use. I just can't get along with Sony cameras. They're so boring and like hard to use, and they're missing so many photography features. You know, but then, like, you know, Fuji cameras, which are super fun to use. The X Pro 3 comes to mind. And where is the X Pro 4 Fuji? You know, the better image quality, like, it does tip it over. So, you know, it's a balance, I guess, is what I'm saying. I am very excited to see what Leica does next year. I'm not even gonna say it's a rumor, because the chairman of the firm, I forget his name, I can put it here somewhere, but you know who I'm talking about. He wears an ascot sometimes, okay? And he's like a private equity guy that runs Leica. You know, he has like just said straight up, we're making medium format in 2025. So I'm pretty excited to see what they do. You know, if you could get something like the GFX, you know, a little more user-friendly, better autofocus, not so crazy expensive because maybe it wouldn't have a leaf shutter, or it's like the S3 that does both mechanical and leaf shutter. I'm just saying, you know, I would jump on the Leica medium format in a heartbeat. But unfortunately here, you know, the things that would tip me towards the GFX or the X2D are in such a way that it has basically boiled down to image quality. And like it or not, 95 to 99% of the time, the image quality, especially if we're talking about shooting people or artsier things, the image quality is just better coming out of the X2D. I don't know why. I have tried all kinds of things. You can get like the colors to match. You can get a lot of things to match. It is a lot of work. And I would even say that the Fuji GFX files are more pleasing and easier to edit than the X2D files. But man, the image coming right out of the X2D makes life so easy. 75%, 85% of the time, it comes out and you're done. You know, a couple of tweaks and sliders, but you're basically done with the X2D. With the GFX, especially because the results are so inconsistent, there's almost always work to be done, okay? It only gets worse if you try to use film simulations. That's the dumbest thing for medium format cameras. I know people don't totally agree with me on this, but I'm telling you, if you could just get like the natural live view image out of the GFX, life would be easier, especially if you're going to edit and post-processing. Trust me. I thought I had found a solution for this, that if you put natural live view on in a GFX and you use Lightroom, the new version, not the classic version, you get that natural live view file, and that's very close to the Hasselblad file. Unfortunately, that's the only program that does that. Capture One, which I normally use to edit Fuji files, Lightroom Classic, Photoshop, all these other ones, they apply the Fujifilm film simulations. So that wasn't a great solution. And you know, if you know a way to do that, I would love to hear it, because that might also help sway me towards the GFX. But as it is, the film simulations mess up the curves, they mess up the colors, and it just creates more work, in my opinion. Fuji does not have a profile. It's not Provia. It is not Real Ace. Fujifilm does not have a film profile that just comes out as nice and pleasing as the X2D does. It is not. None of the film simulations are nearly as good of a starting point for color and you know, image quality editing as the X2D. If Fuji could, you know, get on the stick and fix this and give us the X2D color profile with the same luminosity, light fall off, all that stuff, yeah, in a heartbeat, I would sell the X2D and just stick with the GFX. I don't need the leaf shutter, you know, 1/2000th or 1/4000th flash sync that much. I barely ever use that, if ever. So that part, like, is not important to me. It's the image quality.